Ever get that feeling, like trying to take a sip from a fire hose? When you hear all the news about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming for
Pretty sure
sure.
it can be a lot. But today, we're not getting into the weeds on the price of Bitcoin. Not yet, at least. Today, we are diving into the story behind it all. And it's a story that starts with, well, a mystery.
Intriguing.
Right. Have you ever heard of a mysterious figure, maybe more than one figure, named Satoshi Nakamoto?
I'd be surprised if anyone even remotely interested in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency for that matter hadn't. The name is practically synonymous with Bitcoin at this point.
You're right, you're right. But here's the thing. To this day, nobody knows who Satoshi Nakamoto really is.
It's the ultimate crypto enigma, isn't it?
Truly. Was this person or persons a lone wolf genius coder, a group of brilliant minds, a secret society of, tech wizards predicting the downfall of traditional finance? I mean, what do you think is behind that next-level secrecy?
Well, it's a question that's fueled countless theories, articles, blog posts, Reddit threads, late-night debates, you name it. For sure.
Some, and I'd say this is a popular theory, some say Nakamoto feared for their safety, especially in the early days when the whole concept of digital decentralized currency sounded, well, let's be honest, like something straight out of a cyberpunk novel.
Right, like out of the Matrix or something.
Exactly. Others believe it was totally deliberate, a way to ensure that Bitcoin remained truly decentralized, a system with no single point of control, no leader, no central authority that could be compromised.
So no supreme leader of Bitcoin, huh? That's a pretty radical idea when you really think about it. A system that belongs to everyone and no one at the same time.
That's the beauty of it. And you're right, it's a radical idea, even today. And I think you hit the nail on the head with the supreme leader bit, because that anonymity, it wasn't just about a name. It feeds directly into this decentralized philosophy, making sure that no single entity could manipulate Bitcoin. No one to point a finger at, no one to arrest, no one to bribe. I'm starting to see why this whole thing has people so fascinated, obsessed even. But let's get down to the nuts and bolts for a second, the actual technology behind it. I mean, we're talking about digital money, something you can't hold in your hand, can't carry in your wallet. So what's the magic behind it? How does it actually work?
That magic, my friend, is something called blockchain.
Blockchain, yeah, I've heard that term thrown around a lot.
Of course. But at its core, think of it this way. Blockchain is like a giant digital ledger, but instead of being kept in one place, like, say, a bank's vault, it's actually copied across a vast network of computers all over the world.
So it's like everyone has a copy of the same book, the ledger, in this case, and every time a transaction happens, it's like adding a new page that everyone can see.
You got it. A perfect analogy. Each page or block is linked to the one before it, creating a chronological chain, a chain of transactions, and this chain is really, really difficult to tamper with.
Okay, so far so good. But how is it so secure?
That's where things get even more interesting, because this chain of blocks is secured by cryptography.
Cryptography?
Right. Essentially, it's like an incredibly complex digital lock, making it virtually impossible to forge or alter those transactions.
Okay, that's starting to paint a clearer picture in my head. So it's like a super secure, transparent ledger that everyone can see, but no single person can just waltz in and start messing with. I got that. But how do all these computers agree on what actually goes into this ledger, this blockchain?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because with so many copies floating around, it seems like there could be disagreements, some chaos even, right?
Yeah.
You're right to point that out. Which brings us to the fascinating world of consensus mechanisms. These are the rules, the agreements, if you will, that govern how these computers, often called nodes in the crypto world, agree on which transactions are legit, which ones are valid, and should be added to that tamper-proof blockchain.
So it's how all these computers come to a consensus, essentially, on what's really going on. And everyone's on the same page, or block, should I say.
Exactly. And one of the most common consensus mechanisms, and the one that really kicked things off with Bitcoin, is proof of work.
Proof of work. Okay, I gotta be honest, that sounds pretty intense. Break it down for me.
Imagine, if you will, a massive digital competition. All these computers in the network are racing against each other to solve incredibly complex mathematical problems. And the first one to crack the code, to solve the puzzle, gets to add the next block of transactions to the blockchain. And they get rewarded for their efforts.
Okay, so that's where the work part of proof of work comes in.
Hmm.
But what's the incentive for all these computers to participate in this digital marathon? Like, what are they even racing for?
Bragging rights, for one. No, I'm just kidding, although I'm sure there's some of that too in the online forums and such. But the real prize, the incentive that keeps the system running, is that the winner of this race isn't just showered in digital confetti. They are rewarded with, you guessed it, Bitcoin.
Uh-huh. So it's like a digital gold rush then.
Exactly. And this whole process, this proof of work, it doesn't just secure the network by making it incredibly hard for any bad actors to mess with it. It also introduces new Bitcoin into circulation. New Bitcoin is mined as these puzzles are solved.
So it's like this self-governing system, almost like a democracy of computers. And the more computers that participate, the more secure the network becomes, and the more Bitcoin is created.
Much.
That's pretty ingenious when you really think about it.
It is.
It really is. It's like this whole new world of finance running on algorithms and complex mathematical puzzles instead of Wall Street bankers. But earlier you mentioned other consensus mechanisms, right? Not just proof of work. What's the deal with those? What else is out there?
Right. Proof of work was the OG, the trailblazer that started it all. But like any first-generation technology, it's not without its critics and its downsides.
Okay, fair enough. So what are the drawbacks of proof of work then?
Well, this might not surprise you, knowing how much computing power is needed for all those computers constantly crunching numbers. But it's not exactly eco-friendly, not even close. And that's putting it mildly.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. All those server farms, all that electricity. It's like running a small country on fossil fuels just to keep Bitcoin going. Not exactly a great look for the planet, if that's what's needed.
Yeah, the amount of energy required to power all those computers working tirelessly to solve those cryptographic puzzles. Well, it's caught the attention of environmental advocates, to say the least.
Rightfully so. So what's the alternative? Is there a more sustainable way to keep a blockchain secure without scorching the earth in the process?
There just might be. Enter proof of stake. And as its name cleverly suggests, it's a completely different approach.
Proof of stake, okay. Sounds intriguing. I'm all ears. Tell me more.
So imagine this. Instead of needing massive amounts of computing power to solve complex puzzles, you need to have, let's say, skin in the game.
Skin in the game. Okay, I like the sound of that.
Me too. In a proof of stake system, it's those who hold a certain amount of the cryptocurrency who have the power. They get to be the validators, the ones who verify transactions and add those all-important blocks to the blockchain.
So let me get this straight. You're telling me that if I have enough of this digital money, this cryptocurrency, I could essentially help run the show. I could be one of the validators.
You got it. It's a bit like a high-stakes lottery, where the more coins you hold, the more skin in the game you have, the higher your chances of being selected to validate those transactions and earn those juicy rewards.
Wow, now that makes proof of work sound like, well, a lot of work.
Yeah.
Which I guess is kind of the point. So is proof of stake the golden child of blockchain then? The answer to all our energy efficiency and sustainability prayers?
It definitely has some serious advantages right off the bat, especially when it comes to energy efficiency and environmental impact. Imagine your crypto transactions. They could have a much smaller carbon footprint, way smaller, but it's still early days. And it's not a perfect system either, unfortunately. Like with anything in the crypto space, there are always debates. There are still a lot of discussions happening right now, even as we speak, about whether proof of stake can truly achieve that same level of decentralization and security as its older, more energy-intensive sibling, proof of work.
Of course, there's always a trade-off, isn't there? But that's what makes this whole space so fascinating. It's like the Wild West of finance, where the rules are still being written and new ideas and technologies are popping up all the time.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And it's not just about the technology either. There are social and political dimensions to this that we can't ignore.
You're right, it's bigger than just the tech itself. It's about how this technology interacts with our existing systems.
Exactly. But speaking of technology, here's what I think is really mind-blowing about all of this. Up until now, we've been laser-focused on digital money, on cryptocurrency as a replacement for traditional finance. But it seems like blockchain at its core has the potential to completely revolutionize so much more than just how we exchange money.
Okay, yeah, that's what I've been hearing too. So much more than just Bitcoin. So what else can blockchain do? Spill the tea? Give me some examples.
There are so many possibilities, it's hard to know where to even begin. But how about this? Imagine a world where you could take that cup of coffee you're drinking, or that protein shake, or whatever it is you have in your hands, and you could trace it all the way back to its source.
Like all the way back to the farm.
Yes, all the way back to the farm where those coffee beans were grown, harvested, and processed. With blockchain, every single step of the supply chain, from the moment those beans were picked to the moment they were roasted, packaged, shipped, and ended up in your cup, every single step could be recorded on an immutable, transparent ledger.
Wow, that would be amazing. No more shady supply chains, no more mystery ingredients, no more wondering where my food has really been.
Right. And it's not just about food safely either. Think about ethical sourcing, fair trade practices, sustainability, environmental impact. All of that could be tracked and verified using blockchain technology.
So long, shady suppliers and questionable practices. That's a win-win for everyone, I'd say. What else you got? What other everyday things could blockchain disrupt?
Okay, let's talk about something that's fundamental to any democracy: voting.
Okay, voting. Yeah, we've all heard those stories, those conspiracy theories.
Right, so we all want our votes to count, right? We all want to believe that our elections are fair and secure. But let's be honest, that trust is being tested these days with all the talk of voter fraud and rigged elections. Blockchain could be the answer. It could actually pave the way for more secure and transparent elections where every single vote cast is recorded on a tamper-proof digital ledger, making it virtually impossible to hack or manipulate the results.
Now, that would be huge. Just imagine elections where you could literally track your vote like a package, knowing for certain that it was counted fairly. Talk about a game changer. Okay, so blockchain for supply chains, blockchain for voting. What else? I'm starting to think this technology really could change the world. What other amazing applications are out there?
Think about your digital identity for a second. All those usernames and passwords you have to remember, all those accounts you have scattered across the internet. What if, instead of juggling all that, you had a single, secure digital ID that was stored on the blockchain?
Okay, so kind of like a digital passport, but for everything online.
Yes, exactly. And because it's on the blockchain, it would be incredibly secure and virtually impossible to forge.
Okay, yeah, that would be a game changer. No more forgetting passwords and getting locked out of my own life. Sign me up for that. So we've got blockchain revolutionizing supply chains, making elections more secure and transparent, and even streamlining our digital identities.
Yeah.
But with all this talk about revolutionizing systems, there's got to be some downsides, some challenges that we have to consider.
Right. It can't all be sunshine and rainbows in blockchain land. You're absolutely right. It can't all be perfectly decentralized, secure, and life-changingly amazing. Every technology has its limitations, right? So let's talk about those. What are some of the bumps in the road, the challenges that we're facing as we move towards this blockchain-powered future?
Well, one of the big ones, and this is something that engineers and developers are wrestling with right now, is scalability.
Scalability, okay.
Yeah.
For those of us who aren't, like, tech wizards, what exactly does that mean in the context of blockchain?
So right now, as it stands today, most blockchains, they have a bit of a bottleneck problem.
A bottleneck, okay. Right. You see, as more and more people and businesses start using a blockchain, the network can get bogged down, it can get congested. All those transactions, all that data, it can lead to, well, slower transaction speeds, higher fees, that sort of thing. Imagine, if you will, rush hour traffic, but for digital information.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. It's like trying to cram the entire internet, all those cat videos and news articles and, well, everything, trying to cram it all through a dial-up modem.
Exactly. Not a pretty picture. So figuring out how to scale up blockchain technology so it can handle more transactions, more data, more users without slowing to a crawl, well, that's one of the biggest challenges facing this space right now.
Makes sense. But if blockchain is all about decentralization, how do you even begin to solve a problem like that when there's no central authority calling the shots?
It's a great question, and one that's up for debate. There are a lot of smart people working on this as we speak, trying to come up with innovative solutions to make blockchain technology more efficient. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. Regulation, or should I say, the lack of clear regulation, is another big hurdle.
Right, because governments and central banks, they haven't exactly been, shall we say, entirely welcoming to this whole cryptocurrency and blockchain revolution.
To put it mildly, I mean, they're still trying to figure out how it all even works, how to categorize it, how to regulate it, if they even should regulate it. It's uncharted territory for them. It's like the Wild West of finance out there, and that can make traditional investors, businesses, even everyday people, it can make them hesitant, understandably, to go all in on something that seems so new, so different, so potentially disruptive.
It's true. When the rules of the game are constantly changing, it's hard to know how to play, right? But, it seems like every other day we're hearing about some new crypto hack or some sophisticated scam or some exchange collapsing, people losing their life savings. It makes you wonder, is blockchain really as secure as it's cracked up to be?
That's a really, really important point. And it gets to the heart of, well, understanding the nuances of blockchain security. Because while the blockchain technology itself, at its core, it's incredibly secure, the applications, the platforms, the exchanges built on top of it, they aren't always as secure.
So it's kind of like, it doesn't matter how secure the foundation of your house is if you leave the front door unlocked, right?
Perfect analogy. That's exactly it.
So with all these challenges, all this uncertainty, where do we go from here? What do you think? Is this whole decentralization thing just a fad, a blip on the radar of history? Or are we really headed towards a future where blockchain is woven into, well, the very fabric of our digital lives?
That, my friend, is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's a question that everyone's asking. And honestly, if I had a crystal ball that could tell me for sure, well, let's just say I wouldn't be here right now. But here's what I can say. Blockchain technology, it has the potential to be truly revolutionary, to change the world as we know it, to create a more equitable, transparent, secure digital future. I truly believe that.
I think so too. But like you said, it's not just about the technology itself.
Exactly. It's bigger than that. It's about us. It's about how we as a society, as global citizens, choose to use it, to shape it, to ensure that it benefits everyone. It's about asking ourselves tough questions, like what kind of digital future do we want to build? What role do we want blockchain to play? How can we mitigate the risks, address the challenges, and make sure that this technology is used for good?
It's about starting a conversation.
Exactly. A global conversation, one that involves everyone.
Well said. Well, folks, there you have it. We've journeyed into the heart of blockchain. We've explored its incredible potential. And yeah, we've even uncovered a clue or two about the enigmatic Satoshi Nakamoto. What started as a mysterious white paper published online anonymously has sparked a technological revolution, one that's forcing us to rethink the very nature of trust, transparency, and yeah, even money itself. So the next time you hear about Bitcoin or blockchain or cryptocurrency, remember, there's a whole lot more going on beneath the surface. Don't be afraid to dig deeper, to ask questions, to explore, because who knows, maybe, just maybe you'll be the one to crack the code on what's next for this game-changing technology.
I like that. Crack the code. Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, until next time, keep exploring, stay curious.